November 8, 2013. Super Typhoon Haiyan, known locally as Yolanda, slammed into the Philippines with winds exceeding 195 miles per hour. Coastal communities, especially in the Leyte region, were swallowed by a storm surge exceeding 20 feet. The storm exposed the nation's vulnerability to natural disasters and highlighted the urgent need for better preparedness and stronger infrastructure. What propelled Haiyan to such terrifying intensity? Meteorologists pointed to unusually warm waters in the Pacific Ocean and weak wind shear. As Haiyan churned across the open ocean, it underwent rapid intensification, transforming into a meteorological monster. These factors, combined with Haiyan's trajectory towards the densely populated Philippines, spelled disaster. The storm's unprecedented strength set the stage for one of the deadliest natural disasters in modern history. The Philippines, an archipelago nation of over 7,000 islands, is no stranger to typhoons. However, nothing could have prepared the nation for the sheer ferocity of Haiyan. The city of Tacloban, the provincial capital of Leyte, was virtually obliterated, with the storm surge wiping out entire neighborhoods. Haiyan left a trail of devastation, uprooting lives, shattering communities, and leaving an indelible scar on the Filipino psyche. Typhoon Haiyan was a terrifying convergence of meteorological factors. The ocean waters east of the Philippines were unusually warm, acting like high-octane fuel. Low wind shear allowed the storm to maintain its tightly wound structure and intensify rapidly. Haiyan followed a track over a vast expanse of open ocean, gathering strength and moisture. By the time it reached the Philippines, Haiyan had transformed into a meteorological monster. Understanding these factors is crucial to grasping the sheer power of Haiyan. Warm ocean water is the lifeblood of a typhoon. In the weeks leading up to Haiyan's formation, sea surface temperatures in the western Pacific Ocean were significantly higher than average. As Haiyan moved over these abnormally warm waters, it tapped into this energy source, intensifying rapidly. Climate change, causing ocean temperatures to rise globally, is likely to lead to more intense typhoons in the future. Wind shear acts as a regulating force for typhoons. In the days leading up to Haiyan's landfall, wind shear over the western Pacific was unusually low, allowing the typhoon to maintain its structure and intensify rapidly. The role of wind shear in Haiyan's intensity highlights the complex interplay of factors that contribute to typhoon development. The eastern Visayas region of the Philippines bore the brunt of Haiyan's fury. The storm surge, reaching heights of over 20 feet, engulfed entire coastal communities. Infrastructure was crippled, homes were reduced to rubble, and livelihoods were swept away in an instant. The eastern Visayas, once a vibrant hub of tourism and agriculture, was brought to its knees. Tacloban City, the bustling capital of Leyte Province, was at the epicenter of Haiyan's wrath. The city's location made it particularly vulnerable to the storm surge. A wall of water surged through the city, engulfing entire neighborhoods and reducing buildings to rubble. The scenes of devastation in Tacloban became emblematic of Haiyan's destructive power. While Tacloban City became the tragic face of Haiyan's devastation, the storm's impact extended far beyond the city limits. Across the Visayas region, coastal communities were battered by the typhoon's fury. On the island of Samar, entire villages were flattened by the storm surge. The agricultural sector, a mainstay of the Visayan economy, was decimated, with crops wiped out and fishing boats destroyed. The true cost of Typhoon Haiyan was measured not only in the physical damage, but also in the profound human suffering it caused. The storm claimed the lives of over 6,300 people in the Philippines. Families were torn apart, with parents searching desperately for missing children and children left orphaned by the storm. The loss of life, the displacement, and the trauma inflicted by Haiyan left an enduring legacy of grief and resilience in the Philippines. In the immediate aftermath of Typhoon Haiyan, the Philippines faced a scene of unimaginable devastation. The Philippine government declared a state of national calamity and deployed the military to assist with search and rescue operations. Roads were impassable, bridges were destroyed, and communication lines were cut, making it difficult to reach remote areas and deliver aid. The lack of clean water, food, and shelter created a desperate situation for survivors. As news of the disaster spread, an outpouring of support for the Philippines poured in. International organizations, foreign governments, and individuals mobilized to provide humanitarian assistance. The generosity and compassion of the international community provided a glimmer of hope in the midst of the devastation. The long-term challenge of rebuilding lives and communities lay ahead. The Philippine government, with the support of international partners, embarked on a multi-year reconstruction plan. The plan focused on rebuilding infrastructure, restoring livelihoods, and providing psychological support to trauma survivors. The process of rebuilding was slow and arduous, with survivors facing the daunting task of piecing their lives back together. Years after Typhoon Haiyan, its scars continued to mark the physical and emotional landscape of the Philippines. The psychological trauma of the disaster lingered, with many survivors suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder anxiety and depression. The experience of Haiyan highlighted the Philippines' vulnerability to natural disasters and the urgent need for greater preparedness. The storm served as a wake-up call, prompting the government and communities to invest in disaster risk reduction measures. Typhoon Haiyan's extraordinary death toll was the result of a tragic convergence of multiple elements. The storm's unprecedented intensity, the timing of its arrival, and the geographic vulnerabilities of the affected areas all played a role. Haiyan's sustained wind speeds, exceeding 195 miles per hour, generated a storm surge of catastrophic proportions. Furthermore, Haiyan struck at high tide, exacerbating the impact of the storm surge. The combination of a powerful typhoon, a high tide, and vulnerable geography created a perfect storm of deadly consequences. The storm surge generated by Typhoon Haiyan was the deadliest aspect of the disaster. This wall of water surged inland for miles, engulfing homes, businesses, and entire communities. The height of the storm surge was particularly alarming, reaching over 20 feet in some areas. The speed and ferocity of the storm surge left many with no chance of escape. The price of unpreparedness. The high death toll was not just due to Typhoon Haiyan's power, but also a lack of preparedness. Communities were ill-equipped, leaving residents vulnerable. Early warning systems were inadequate. Warnings were not widespread or specific enough. Evacuation procedures were poorly organized. Many evacuation centers were in flood-prone areas. Critical infrastructure failed, hampering rescue efforts. Section 4. The geography of vulnerability. Living in harm's way. The Philippines' geographic location and physical characteristics make it one of the most disaster-prone countries in the world. Situated in the western Pacific Ocean, the archipelago lies within a region known as Typhoon Alley, where an average of 20 typhoons form each year. The country's archipelagic nature, with its long coastlines and numerous islands, makes it particularly vulnerable to typhoons, storm surges, and other coastal hazards. Many communities are located in low-lying coastal areas, putting them at high risk from rising sea levels and storm surges. The country's mountainous terrain also poses challenges for disaster preparedness and response. Steep slopes and narrow valleys increase the risk of landslides and flash floods, while remote communities are often cut off from help during emergencies. The combination of these geographic factors makes the Philippines highly susceptible to the impacts of natural disasters. While the country has made strides in recent years to improve its disaster preparedness and response capabilities, the inherent risks posed by its geography remain a significant challenge. Rethinking disaster preparedness. Typhoon Haiyan was a brutal wake-up call for the Philippines and the world. It exposed critical vulnerabilities in disaster preparedness, prompting a reassessment of strategies. Significant policy changes and institutional reforms followed in the Philippines. The government created the Department of Disaster Resilience to oversee disaster management. Community-based preparedness became crucial. Local communities played a vital role in the aftermath. Investments in training programs and early warning systems were made. Lessons from Haiyan extended globally, highlighting the threat of natural disasters. Section 2. Building Back Better, the Long Road to Resilience. Rebuilding after Typhoon Haiyan required a monumental effort from the Philippine government, international organizations, and local communities. The focus was on building back better, creating a more resilient Philippines. This included investing in typhoon-resistant housing, reinforced bridges, and upgraded early warning systems. The resilience of the Filipino people shone through as communities supported each other. Section 3. A global call to action. Haiyan and the climate change imperative. Typhoon Haiyan served as a stark warning about the increasing risks posed by climate change. The storm's unprecedented intensity underscored the link between a warming climate and more extreme weather events. Scientists warn that climate change leads to more frequent and intense tropical cyclones. Warmer oceans and rising sea levels intensify these storms and their impacts. Haiyan's devastation brought climate change to the forefront of global discussions. A decade after Typhoon Haiyan, its legacy continues to shape the Philippines and the world. The storm serves as a reminder of the destructive power of nature, the importance of disaster preparedness, and the urgent need to address climate change. As the Philippines continues to rebuild and recover from the storm's devastation, it is essential to remember the thousands of lives lost and the millions affected by the disaster. Memorials and commemorative events serve as poignant reminders of the human toll of Haiyan and the importance of honoring the memory of those who perished. Beyond the tragedy, it is equally important to honor the resilience of the Filipino people. In the face of unimaginable loss and devastation, communities came together to support each other, rebuild their lives, and create a more resilient future. The spirit of bayanihan, a Filipino word for communal unity and cooperation, shone through in the aftermath of the disaster. Typhoon Haiyan, while a tragedy, also revealed the capacity of the human spirit to overcome adversity. The images from Typhoon Haiyan remain etched in our collective memory. Flattened cities reduced to rubble, families clinging desperately to debris, and a landscape scarred beyond recognition. Haiyan, the strongest storm ever recorded at landfall, was a stark reminder of the awesome and terrifying power of nature. It exposed our vulnerabilities, tested our limits, and left an indelible mark on the Filipino people. More than just a meteorological event, Haiyan was a human tragedy of immense proportions. The storm claimed thousands of lives, displaced millions, and inflicted deep emotional wounds that continue to heal. The stories of loss, survival, and resilience that emerged from the wreckage serve as testaments to both the fragility and the strength of the human spirit. Haiyan forced the world to confront the devastating consequences of extreme weather events made more likely and more severe by a changing climate. It underscored the urgent need for greater preparedness, stronger infrastructure, and a global commitment to addressing the root causes of climate change. Amidst the devastation, however, emerged stories of remarkable resilience. The Filipino people, known for their warmth, compassion, and unwavering spirit, faced the disaster with courage and determination. Neighbors helped neighbors, strangers shared what little they had, and communities came together to rebuild their lives and their homes, brick by painful brick. The outpouring of international aid and support in the aftermath of Haiyan was a testament to the power of human compassion. Governments, organizations, and individuals from around the world mobilized to provide food, water, shelter, medical care, and other essential assistance to those in need. The recovery process was long and arduous, but the Filipino people persevered. They returned to the ruins of their homes and businesses, cleared debris, rebuilt infrastructure, and began the slow and painful process of healing. Haiyan tested their limits, but it also revealed their extraordinary strength and resilience. Typhoon Haiyan was a tragedy, but it was also a catalyst for change. It forced the world to confront the realities of a changing climate and the need for greater disaster preparedness. The lessons from Haiyan shape policies on disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation. Investing in early warning systems and strengthening infrastructure is crucial. Empowering communities to prepare and respond to disasters is essential. Effective evacuation plans and well-stocked shelters are necessary. Robust communication networks can withstand extreme events. Haiyan reminds us that climate change is a present reality. The storm's intensity, fueled by warm ocean temperatures, shows a future with more severe weather. Urgent global action is needed to reduce emissions and mitigate climate change impacts. Typhoon Haiyan left a lasting impact on the world. Have you ever experienced a storm of this magnitude, or do you think we're prepared for stronger storms in the future? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below.